All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to put an end to the single biggest debate in the resume world, especially for those of us who have a good bit of experience under our belts. Yes, there it is, the question. You've probably heard the old rules, the dogma, right? But here's the thing. The advice that worked when you were a new grad is probably hurting your career right now. That one-page rule, it just wasn't designed for someone with your level of experience. And here is the data that just blows that old rule out of the water. A huge study by Resume Go found that for mid to senior level jobs, two-page resumes got a whopping 70% more callbacks than one-pagers. I mean, think about that. That's not a tiny difference. It's a massive career-changing advantage. So why are so many people still clinging to that old advice? So here's our game plan. We're going to unpack that 70% secret and really dig into why the one-page rule is so problematic. Then we'll give you a super clear matrix to decide on your page count and a strategy for what to put where. We'll also bust some major myths about resume scanners and finally give you a 5-step plan to get this all done this weekend. Okay, first things first, let's look at the problem head-on. This one-pager myth isn't just old-fashioned, it's actively pushing experienced pros like you into 4 traps that can get your resume tossed in the no pile. So trap number 1 is what I call the compression trap. Look at this. To squeeze 20 years of experience onto a single page, you're forced to strip out the very details, the numbers, the impact that make you valuable. The before is fine, it's generic. The after? That's what gets you the interview. That's your specific, powerful story. The second trap is achievement erasure. I mean, think about it. There's just no room for 5, 6, 7 different roles on one page. So what do? You start deleting entire chapters of your career. And the crazy part is, the perfect experience for the job you want might be in a role you had to cut just to save a few lines. Your story becomes incomplete. And that leads right into trap number 3, the formatting death spiral. Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tiny fonts you can barely read, margins that are practically non-existent, just a solid, unreadable wall of text. A recruiter who spends, 7 seconds on a resume, they're just going to skip it. And even worse, a lot of the applicant tracking systems, the ATS, can't even properly read fonts that small. And the last problem is maybe the most ironic one of all. It's the age signal paradox. You think you're being clever, cramming everything onto one page to hide how long you've been working, but it actually does the exact opposite. When a recruiter sees a senior title and dates going back 20+ years, all squeezed onto one page, they can do the math in a split second. It actually highlights your timeline even more. Okay, so if one page is the wrong answer for so many of us, what's the right one? Let's get to the good stuff. A clear, logical way to make the right choice. This isn't about opinions. It's about matching your unique experience to the right format. This matrix really simplifies things. Just zero in on that middle row. If you've got 10 to 25 years of experience, you're aiming for mid to senior roles, and you have real, quantifiable results across 4 or more jobs, then 2 pages isn't just an option, it's your new default. It's what recruiters are expecting to see. The one-pager is for folks early in their career. 3 pages, that's really for specialized fields like academia or federal jobs. For most of us, 2 pages is the sweet spot. So now that we've established that 2 pages is probably the way to go, how do you actually use that space effectively? Well, I want you to start thinking about your resume like prime real estate. Page 1 is Manhattan, and page 2 is Brooklyn. Page 1, Manhattan, has to be a total knockout punch. The top third, that's your Times Square. It has to grab their attention in that 7-second window with a killer professional summary and your most important skills. The rest of the page is dedicated to your most recent and most relevant work. This page has to be so strong that it makes them absolutely want to read more. Then we head over to page 2, Brooklyn. It's still super valuable, but it's where you provide the depth, the context, the supporting evidence. This is where you put your earlier roles, but you start condensing them a bit. Then, at the bottom, you have things like your education and certifications. They're important, but they're not the headline. They're the proof. But here is an absolutely critical rule of thumb, the half-page test. A resume that's 1 full page and then just a couple of lines on page 2 looks weak. It looks unfinished. If your second page doesn't have at least a half page of solid, valuable content, you really need to go back and tighten everything up into one incredibly powerful page. All right, let's talk about the biggest myth of them all, the one that keeps so many people chained to that one-page resume. But what about the computer scanners? Let's break down what those applicant tracking systems, the ATS, are actually doing. This right here is the single most important technical detail you need to understand. Let me say it again. The machines do not count pages. They couldn't care less if a keyword is on page 1 or page 2. They scan the entire document, pull out all the text, and just dump it into a database to be searched. Page count is a human concern, not a machine one. And the funny thing is, for actual human beings, 2 well laid out pages are often way better. Eye tracking studies have shown that recruiters don't read every word. They scan in an F pattern across the top, then down the left side. A nice, spacious 2-page resume with plenty of white space is actually easier for a human to scan than that dense wall of text we talked about earlier. A second page also gives you a massive advantage with keywords. You have more room to naturally weave in the important terms from the job description across, say, 10 or 12 bullet points. This helps you avoid that awkward keyword stuffing that sounds robotic to a human reader. It just reads better, and it gives the ATS more of the good stuff it's looking for. And hey, while we're on the topic of formatting, here is a super simple but critical rule. Make sure your name and contact info are in the header or footer of both pages. You never know. If someone prints it out and the pages get separated, you want to make sure page 2 can find its way back home. Okay, we've gone through the why and the how. Now it's time to actually put this into practice. Here's a simple 5-step plan you can knock out this weekend to get your resume completely optimized and ready to go. It's really straightforward. First, just audit what you have right now and do that half-page test. Second, restructure everything using that Manhattan/Brooklyn strategy. Third, enforce that 15-year rule. Really condense the details on your older roles. Fourth, double-check your keyword distribution. And finally, test it out. Give it to a friend and have them do the 7-second test. Can they instantly tell what you're great at? This plan will transform your resume from an outdated document to a powerful career story. So once you've done all that work and you have your new draft, you might be thinking, okay, but did I actually get it right? Well, for anyone who wants to be absolutely sure, there's a way to get a data-driven answer. You know, tools like Pass the Scan actually use AI to analyze your resume using the same kind of logic we've talked about here. It'll check things like how dense your content is and your keyword coverage to give you an objective score. It basically takes the guesswork out of it and tells you if your length and formatting are really working for you. So look, at the end of the day, you now have the data, you have the framework, and you have a plan. That old 1-page rule is a myth that just doesn't apply to you anymore. You have permission and now the strategy to tell your full career story with the impact it deserves. So the only question left is, what's next for you?